It is funny, isn't it? That heavy friction we all feel. You sit down, staring at a completely blank screen. You know exactly what you want your brand to say.
Oh, yeah. The blinking cursor of doom.
Right. Translating those abstract thoughts into actual words is exhausting. It feels impossible sometimes. But artificial intelligence can actually bridge that gap. We just have to give it the right instructions.
We absolutely do. We need to treat it like a strategic system, not a magic wand.
Welcome to the deep dive. Okay, let's unpack this. Today, we are transforming abstract brand strategy into reality.
Taking concepts like audience, values, and personas, and turning them into a highly practical AI brand system using Claude.
We are going to cover 3 specific steps today: crafting outcome-based promises, defining an adaptable tone system, and building a one-page operational brand brief.
And you really need to care about this. The numbers behind brand consistency are wild.
They really are. Research from Lucid Press found something incredible. Consistent brand presentation increases revenue by up to 33%. Beat. Think about that number.
It is a massive jump just for being consistent. And Mark also published some fascinating findings recently.
Right. They found that inconsistent branding severely weakens audience trust, and it heavily slows down your actual content production.
It really does slow everything down. You end up reinventing the wheel every single morning. A solid system removes that daily friction completely.
Exactly. But a solid brand foundation is useless if people are confused. If they don't immediately understand what you do, you lose them.
Completely. This means we have to move away from talking about tasks. We need to focus entirely on the transformation.
Look at how beginners usually position themselves. They describe the exact mechanical tasks they perform. They say, I design websites, or I do AI automation.
Right, and that is a major positioning flaw. It is probably the most common mistake I see. The fundamental problem is that clients do not buy tasks.
Nobody wakes up wanting to buy an AI automation sequence.
Exactly. They buy the outcomes those tasks generate. They buy absolute clarity. They buy increased speed.
They buy reduced risk and stronger customer retention. They want the confidence that you solve a real, painful problem.
That is why strong brand promises strictly focus on outcomes. Forbes actually weighed in on brand promises recently.
They did. They noted that brands with clear promises build much stronger trust. They get significantly better audience recall.
Yeah, clear promises create much clearer market differentiation. And that differentiation is exactly what we are building today.
To do this, we use Claude to generate distinct options. We feed it your target audience and your core values. We feed it your specific buyer personas.
But the key is instructing Claude to think strategically. We ask it to act as a senior brand strategist. It needs to focus entirely on messaging psychology.
We tell it to generate 3 distinct brand promise statements. These statements must focus purely on outcomes, not services.
They need to sound incredibly strategic and highly memorable, but they cannot use any vague corporate wording.
For every single promise, Claude needs to provide deep context. It highlights the best persona alignment for that specific promise.
It suggests the ideal platform usage for the message. It breaks down the main differentiation angle. It maps out the expected client outcome.
Let's look at the 3 specific demo examples from the text. The first one is called the 60-second promise. It goes like this. I design AI products that users understand in 60 seconds and keep using.
That one grabs attention incredibly fast. The 60-second metric makes the positioning feel very concrete. Startup founders immediately understand why onboarding friction matters.
It's extremely direct, great for LinkedIn or cold outreach. Then we have the second example. This is the proud to demo promise.
Oh, I love this one.
I turn complex AI products into experiences founders are proud to demo and users actually return to.
The energy here feels entirely different. It feels significantly more premium. It feels very long-term focused.
You instantly stop sounding like someone who simply designs digital screens. You start sounding like a high-level strategic product partner.
Exactly. This works exceptionally well in formal proposals. Great for deep case studies and higher-ticket conversations.
Finally, we have the third demo example. This is the no docs needed promise. I translate what your AI does into an experience anyone can navigate without reading the docs.
What's fascinating here is how incredibly relatable this becomes. Almost everyone working in AI has struggled with confusing interfaces.
We have all suffered through terrible, dense documentation.
Right. The positioning feels instantly relatable to a very wide audience. That makes it incredibly strong for educational social posts. It works perfectly for Twitter content.
You definitely do not throw away the alternate options. It's like stacking Lego blocks of data. Each piece serves a specific structural purpose depending on the platform you're building on.
That is a great way to look at it. You don't just use one type of block.
But does having 3 different promises risk confusing your audience?
Not at all, provided they are mapped correctly. They need to map directly to the actual client journey. You use one promise to attract initial attention. You use the premium promise to build deep authority. You use the relatable one to connect.
Right. Different promises for different stages of the client journey.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Branding finally becomes a real positioning system this way. It replaces random messaging with a solid strategic framework. 2-sec silence. Sponsor.
Okay, so we have nailed down what we are promising, but that actually introduces an entirely new problem.
It sure does. If you say that amazing promise with the wrong energy, nobody cares.
We need to dial in exactly how we sound. Tone is not just your basic writing style. It is the core personality that comes through everywhere.
Getting this right makes your brand truly recognizable. Different audiences naturally need completely different emotional cues.
Startup founders usually respond to high confidence and sharp decisiveness. Creators engage more with open curiosity. Technical audiences often appreciate strict precision.
So we use Claude to generate these strategic tones. We ask it to act as a senior brand strategist again.
We feed it our core values in those new promises. We ask it to suggest 3 highly strategic brand tones.
For each tone, Claude provides a specific tone name. It details the exact emotional perception created by that tone. It breaks down the exact communication style mechanics.
We have 3 specific demo tones from the text to explore. The first is the sharp operator.
The sharp operator immediately creates fast-forward momentum. The sentences are short, they are very direct, and highly observation-heavy.
It works incredibly well for aggressive LinkedIn posts. The second demo tone is the calm strategist.
The pacing slows down significantly here. The underlying thinking becomes much more layered and nuanced. Instead of trying to aggressively win attention, it focuses on building confidence.
It is perfect for proposals and deep discovery conversations. The third demo tone is the relatable builder.
This tone has a much more conversational, easy rhythm. It includes more personal observations. This tone deliberately lowers the intimidation barrier.
It makes the audience feel like they are learning right alongside you. It works exceptionally well on fast platforms like Twitter. I have to admit something, though. I still wrestle with forcing the exact same tone everywhere myself.
Yeah, that is a very common struggle. It's a real challenge to shift gears naturally. But remember, these are not completely different personalities.
Right.
Your core identity actually remains entirely identical. You have the same audience. You hold the same core values. You have the same perspective. What changes is simply the intensity, the pacing, and the context.
But how do we prevent these shifting tones from making the brand feel emotionally flat or robotic?
Actually, flexibility is what prevents a brand from feeling robotic. Forcing one single tone everywhere feels highly unnatural. People still recognize exactly how you think and approach problems, even if the pacing changes.
Same underlying beliefs, just turning the volume knobs up or down.
Precisely. Before publishing, you pause. You think about the specific emotional role of the content. Understanding the difference improves content quality significantly. 2-sec silence.
So we have the core message, we have the distinct voice. But without a centralized system, future content slowly drifts out of alignment.
Over time, things get incredibly messy. Your outputs get buried deep inside endless Claude chats. Your best hooks are lost in random notes.
This is an operational problem. It is a systems issue, not a creativity issue.
Exactly. That is the real purpose of the one-page brand brief. It is not a giant corporate branding PDF. It is a highly scannable, practical, operational dashboard.
Strong systems always prioritize absolute clarity over exhaustive completeness. Let's look at making core values truly operational. Say one of your values is trust through simplicity.
Right, and that value cannot just sit there. It must actively dictate your visual density. It must dictate your explanation pacing.
Yeah, the value is operational. This is where Claude becomes extremely useful again. One of its strongest capabilities is information architecture.
Information architecture is organizing complex information so it is easy to find and use.
We use a very specific 2-prompt workflow for this brief. First, we ask Claude for strategic organization. We ask for a practical 1-page brand brief.
We tell Claude to prioritize clarity over completeness. We only want information that actively influences future decisions.
We tell it to completely avoid corporate branding language. Whoa, beats. Imagine condensing an entire strategic identity into a 60-second scannable dashboard.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, This structure makes future Canva templates, proposals, and social assets naturally align.
The layout may still feel too document-heavy at first. That is exactly where the second prompt comes in. We explicitly ask it to optimize for visual hierarchy.
We want much better readability and visual flow.
But why is it necessary to prompt Claude twice for this brief rather than just asking for the final layout up front?
The first pass solidifies the strategic thinking. The second pass purely optimizes the visual hierarchy and readability for human eyes.
The first for the brains, second for the eyes.
Exactly. The important sections stand out much faster. Everything feels deeply connected because the thinking layer was properly structured first. Beat.
Okay, let's recap our journey today. We moved from abstract strategy to a concrete outcome-based promise.
We developed an adaptable tone system that flexes without losing its core identity.
And we locked it all into a one-page operational brand brief. It acts as a centralized ecosystem for all future AI generation. So what does this all mean?
It means you are no longer generating random outputs. You have systematized your entire content workflow.
As AI makes it incredibly easy for anyone to generate perfectly structured brand content, the ultimate differentiator won't be the system itself.
No, it won't.
It will be the authenticity and deeply human lived experience you feed into the brief at step 1. Look at your current LinkedIn headline or your portfolio today. Ask yourself a very honest question. Am I describing a task or am I promising a transformation? Out to your own music.